Hi, BookTube, it's Jenny. I'm going to go over the books that I have read so far for 2025. Sorry that Boomer is not sitting on me today. Oh, you just saw a cat right there. um, okay. So that was Mega Man. Um, so I read, the first book I read was Hauntings, Tales of the Supernatural, edited by Henry Mazzeo. Yeah, and there was there was some good stories in here. I liked The Open Door by Mrs. Oliphant, and then there was some other authors that I like to check out, like M.R. James and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, because the last time I read anything by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was in high school with Sherlock Holmes, and I'd like to read more of his stuff. And yeah, so like a lot of these stories, I feel like they reminded me a lot of like modern um horror movies or ghost movies where I felt like people have taken inspiration or ripped off from these old stories, and um a lot of movies like take inspiration from some of these. So I thought that was very interesting. And then it's also just like a lovely book with Edward Gorey illustrations all in it. Um, so, and I got this at the Book Barn in Pennsylvania, which is a used bookstore that's inside a giant old barn. And it's really, really cool. So if you're ever in Pennsylvania, you should go to the Book Barn because I only got this for like $5 and it's a really good book. Okay, and then the next thing that I finished was The Rest of the Plays by Anton Chekhov. I read two of the plays in 2024, and then this year I finished Three Sisters and Uncle Vanya. And let me see, Three Sisters made me cry. Um, I wrote the saddest play of them all, but also funny. Um, yeah, so with his plays, like I sometimes think that Chekhov may be playing a joke when he sometimes calls them a drama and sometimes call them a comedy, but they're really neither one of those things. Like they're not really they can't really go into either category. They have like both going on at the same time, and but that's what makes them so good. And Uncle Vanya, like that, he called that a comedy, and it's from 1899. But I wrote comedy question mark because I had a lot of some very dark. There was a lot of darkness in Uncle Vanya, um, and I wrote over 100 years ago, and people knew we were destroying the planet. There was like a whole environmental theme with Uncle Vanya. I wrote the woods, the earth, the destruction of nature, industrialization, environmentalism, climate, foreboding, peasants versus the upper class. Yeah, and it was very good. And then it was kind of like how women are mistreated and how the environment is basically mistreated as like, you know, two overlapping symbolism, mistreatment of women, mistreatment of nature, Mother Earth. It's all connected. Anyway, yeah. And then I finished Sabina Spielrein, Woman in the Myth by Angela M. Sells. I started this a year ago and then I finally finished it. There's Mega Man again running down the stairs. See, there is going to be a cat in this video. Um, Anyways, this is a heavy book. Intellectually, very heavy and intellectually very stimulating. I'm not going to do a good job of trying to explain Sabina's theories, but she had a theory about the sex instinct and the death instinct, where she felt that self sacrifice is integral with love and sex, um, and it has to be mutual self sacrifice where both parties are giving of themselves to the other in order to create something new, not just a baby, but like a new thing with the relationship, with the love relationship. So it's not just like, biological, it's also like psychological or with your soul, psychically, Um, and if things aren't mutual, then it's either self destruction or one party is trying to destroy the other person. Um, and, so she was not into destruction, she was anti that. She was more about um, self sacrifice in order to create something beautiful, and that death is integral to that. um, I'll just read a quote. In love, the dissolution of the ego into the beloved is simultaneously the strongest self affirmation, a new ego life in the person of the beloved. If love is not present, then this idea changes within the psyche or body of an individual who is under the influence of a foreign power, such as the sex act, into the image of destruction or death. Um, and then, you know, historically, Sabina has been treated very, very poorly by historians. She was treated very, very poorly by Dr. Carl Jung, and there's a lot of that in this book. And I should probably, like, maybe I should do, this book isn't really on BookTube, so I should maybe just do a video just dedicated solely to this book and all the stuff in it, because it's very, very interesting. Um, I okay. If you want to hear a quote um, of Jung being a creep, this is something that he said to Christiana Morgan, who was a patient and colleague of Jung's. He is quoted as saying, "You are like Brunhild. You have never been broken in. There ought to come to you a Siegfried who would break through your ring of fire, who would make you into a woman." So yeah, he was just so that was like some creepy stuff, but like with mythological figures thrown into it, in case you didn't pick up on that. But yeah, he was basically being a creep to a lot of his patients and colleagues who were young women or just women. I think actually he slept with just about anyone, like a lot of them. Um, Sabina, yeah, uh, she but she survived him, and she married another guy and moved on with her life. But Jung never really moved on or got over the fact that she like moved on. And it's very funny. Later, there's like correspondence between her and him, where she has to correspond with him because she's like translating stuff for him. So it's like a job for her. But he's like being like if you like reading the letters, and if you imagine it as like a Twitter, like if it was all happening in real time instead of the letters being sent over weeks and months between like Russia and Sweden or whatever, it would be like very funny, because she keeps like pointing out to him how condescending he's being, and a jerk, but like trying to still be polite and professional with him. And it's like, girl, he did not get over you. He's got some issues. Anyway, so that part was funny. But okay, so then I needed something that was like a break from stuff. So I joined Disquiet and Dragon's Discord. Disquiet and Dragon is a very nice booktuber. He has a very chill Discord where they read like a whole bunch of stuff like sci-fi and horror stuff and fantasy, and yeah. So Wylding Hall by Elizabeth Hand was something they were reading, and this was very surreal and haunting and gothic, and it takes place in a beautiful English countryside in like an old manor, haunted manor. And yeah, it was very, very enjoyable. And I read it all in one day because it's very fast paced. I didn't really like the characters. I thought they were way too young, but that's like really my only criticism of it. But otherwise, it's a very cool book. And I had it. It was just nice to have like a break from the other stuff I was reading, which has been like heavy stuff, and this was just like kind of nice and magical, um, and a little bit creepy. There's some creepy parts. And then I finished the first of the Marcel Proust reading event, 7 book. Well, I'm reading this in 7 books, where each book is translated by a different person. And so this one I have is translated by Lydia Davis, and then I recently started the second book, which was translated by somebody else. And it's kind of strange going from one translator to a different translator, but I'm in it for the long haul, so I'm just gonna have to cope. um, and yeah, so Swann's Way. Um, so very, very long, beautiful sentences, and it's very, very relaxing to read it, and you can feel your blood pressure dropping as you read it because it's very, very relaxing, and good thing to read before bed. But yeah, and I understand like why people love this book. I get it. Though of course there is problematic stuff in it, like anti-Semitism and homophobia, and so yeah, I can definitely see that as a reason why somebody would not want to read this or get upset by it, because that's in there. Um, it's also partly the time period, but that's not a reason to forgive it. You don't have to forgive things because of the time period they are written in. Of course not. But yeah, I just have to point out what's problematic in case you don't know. But that's I think there might be other problematic stuff as I get along into it, but I'll just find out as I go along. I try not to read too much about this book because you just get spoilers anytime you try to read anything about the book. I don't I don't want to spoil too much for myself. But what I don't like about it and is strange is it's like a lot of conversations around dinner tables where rich people are being jerks to each other, and though it is interesting because Proust really he's a deep thinker, and it's very psychological, and he overthinks everything, and but all that I like get because like it's like it resonates with me, that deep thinking, but like the rich people snobby stuff, like it's so much, and it grates on me a little bit, and I just like all I want is like some peasants, some working class people just like having an honest discussion about something where they say something real to each other, and just like because it's like these upper class people, I don't understand them, and I have a hard time feeling any kind of sympathy or empathy for them and their issues. Um, I mean, I kind of like just think about it as like, okay, this is just kind of like a case study for me to look at what the world is like from people that I don't understand, I guess. So on that end, it's educational for me to see how snobby people think about things, but it's also kind of horrendous at the same time because snobby people are so insufferable. But I got it handed to Proust. He goes under those layers and he looks deeply at that stuff for good or bad. He's just like peeling like an onion, peeling the layers away of an onion to look at all the gross thoughts that people have, and yeah, so it's like enjoyable, it's not enjoyable. I don't know. It's many, many layers. It's complex, is what it is. It's complex. um, yeah. And then I've joined a bunch of reading events, and I'll make another video talking about that. I think I might be in over my head because I have a lot of things that I'm reading all at the same time, and but it's fun, and I like reading with people who are reading the same things I'm reading, and that's a lot of fun. So, okay, bye.